Hello everyone. This video seeks to go out to users of Apple products. Apple has waged a war on independent repair, and what they are doing is absolutely wrong. They've taken it to the next level lately, however. This has started pretty much the entire time they've been making devices. However, it became furthermore of a problem when they started using soldered-on RAM. As many of you guys know, that have worked on computers, over time RAM wears out and fails. It's volatile memory, just like SSDs and components like that. Over time, it gets a little worn out and it fails. So they started soldering on the memory. No big deal. A lot of manufacturers are doing it. That's not a problem. And then what they did, they started soldering on your SSD. So normally, when you have a MacBook or another laptop, you can take out the SSD. It's stored on the SSD is a separate card. You can easily take out of the computer. It's just a PCI card. For example, we have a MacBook Air right here. So let's say your logic board fails, which they are, believe it or not, Apple devices are not one of the most reliable when it comes to board design and board failures. So your board fails, whatever. Let's say you have all these precious baby pictures and documents and everything on here, your life on this SSD. You can take out the SSD this easily, plug it into a reader, get your information off. Okay, easy, right? This was how it's been until 2016. In 2016, they moved to a different design. They started soldering on the RAM, not only the RAM, but now the SSDs. So they soldered on SSD chips onto the board. However, they gave you an option out. They decided it's a good idea to put a port on the board that allows you to plug in a special device that you can access your information from if the board fails. Now, in 2016, it seems like they had a switch up in their engineering teams, and it kind of seems like there was a switch up, and it maybe some iPhone engineers joined the team. I don't know, but what I do know is that there is a lot of major design flaws in these machines starting from 2016 and up. One, the PCB is too thin. It is way too thin for the amount of layers it has. This is a design defect. This leads to premature failures. We see a lot of failures with the CPUs on these machines. We see a lot of failures with the CPU MOSFETs. We see a lot of failures with the battery charge controllers and the USB-C controllers. This should not happen if the circuit is designed properly, in which it is not. The routing on the board is most likely a mess. However, we cannot confirm that because we do not have access to the files that you need to see that. However, you should not be having this many failures on this machine. Okay, for example, a USB-C circuit or battery charge controller circuit should not fail after 2 years of use, but yet it does. This does not come from using a poor charger. This is coming from using a OEM Apple 87-watt charger, and yet the battery charge controller still fails. Why is this? We don't know. What we do know is in 2016, Apple moved to a proprietary battery charge controller chip, the ISL 9239. This is a custom-designed BGA chip. What BGA is ball grid array. This chip is a tiny little ball grid array chip. Let me show you guys. I have a few right here, actually. So here is a reel of chips. This reel of chips right here costs about $200 for 10 chips. When before, normally on battery charge controllers, let's get something straight. There is nothing special about this chip other than the fact that Apple told Intersil, you cannot sell this to anybody else but us. There is zero advantages to using a chip like this over something, and let's say used in my personal ThinkPad T14, which is another Texas Instruments chip. There's no advantages to using something like this. Yet the supply on this is locked down. This is not compatible with anything else on the market. And it most likely suffers from thermal dissipation issues. Why? Let's have a look. The battery charge controller will get hot under load. It is charging the battery. That uses a lot of wattage, and this little chip will get hot. Now, normally, you have a thermal pad on the bottom of this chip, which heat sinks heat away from the chip and into the copper substrate layers of the PC board. However, you cannot have that happen when you have something like this. So, you have a little tiny chip. Okay, I'm going to take one out of the reel here. This is a brand new chip. This comes from Intersil. However, the supply chain has opened up a little bit from China that we are able to get these. So, you have this little tiny chip. Here's my fingernails. Here's my fingernail, okay? With these little tiny connections, okay, that gives it no real way to remove heat from itself. So what happens when you have something like that? It dies after 2 years or 3 years of use. Now, if you have an Apple product, I want you to ask yourself something. If you are buying a $3,000 machine, are you buying it to last you 2 years? Or are you buying it to last you 5, 6, 7, 10 years? Now, with this being said, this is not the This will not happen with every device. However, it will happen to a good portion of them. Just like with the 2013 to 2015 MacBooks that will develop random crashing issues from poorly designed circuit design using the FMDF 6808 VRM module. We have a fix for that now. We use the FMDF 6708, which is a better rated MOSFET, and it will not crash anymore. However, I'd like to reiterate a little bit on this. So let's go back. Let's slow down a little bit. I just want to slow down a little bit. Let me show you a QFN-based battery charge controller chip. For example, the previous generation, the 2015 and prior, used a different chip that will not fail after 2 to 3 years because it has a proper thermal design. And what I mean by this is it has a very large ground plane. I'm just going to put this chip back in the reel because each one of these chips costs about $15 each, and this is fairly expensive for a chip. When normally a chip like something like this, so if this was not a proprietary chip, this would cost about maybe $1, maybe $2. But it doesn't because it's proprietary, and there's unfortunately nothing special about it. I could see it if it was designed to charge the battery faster or have certain features that others don't, but it doesn't. There's nothing special about that. Here is a chip used from the older machines. This is an ISL 6259 right here. So let's have a look at this chip. This chip right here has this large pad. This is what this chip looks like, okay? We have a large pad right here. Now this sinks heat away from the chip. This will bring that heat down into the copper ground layer of the board so it can cool itself. As I said, this chip will get hot. It's normal for it to get hot. But it's not normal for it to have no mechanism to cool itself. It has no mechanism for heat to be pulled away from this. So the other one does not have that mechanism, and it fails. That's it. It will fail after a certain amount of use. A certain percentage will fail after a certain amount of use. For example, design issues are no stranger to Apple products. We can go on for hours and hours and hours and all the design defects in their products, starting from 2010, actually starting 2006, 7, 8, 2010 with the C9560, 2008-9 with the C7771 defect, 2011 with the GPU defects on the 15-inch MacBook Pro, 2012 with the failing hard drive cables in the A1278, 2012 with the first 15-inch Retina machine with U8900, late 2013 with the A1398 with failing GPU MOSFETs, 2015 with the A1534 with failing CPUs and failing U4700 chip, 2016 and up with the FlexGate defect, which is now not only happening, it also happens on the A1707s, but you will not see Apple cover that. It also happens on newer machines too. So this in and of itself isn't the problem, because prior to this we were actually able to get parts. You know, you're able to buy parts, you contact your supplier that gets them from China, and you're able to get parts. These are genuine parts, these are new parts, these are not counterfeit parts. Apple does not make the screen that is in this laptop. Let's get this clear. Apple does not make this screen. Apple does not make this logic board. Apple does not make this SSD. This SSD is made by SanDisk Corporation. This motherboard right here is either made by Compaq or NYKS, I think it is, which are both PCB manufacturing companies. Apple does not make this CPU. Apple does not make this Wi-Fi card. Apple does not make any of the chips on this board. These are all third-party source chips, just so you know. Let's get this clear. Okay, this display is made by LG Corporation. The displays on the newer machines, so here is a 2019 A2159. Okay, this display is not made by Apple. This display is made by LG Corporation. Apple uses it in this enclosure of this machine. Apple contracts with another company to make the bezel and everything, but underneath this is an LG display using proprietary flex cables, which are prone to failure. Apple knows that this design is prone to failure. Let's get this straight. Apple, you know what I'm talking about if you watch this video. You know damn well that these cables are prone to failure. You know damn well that these cables will fail over time. You designed it that way. You designed this machine to fail. You designed this machine so that if somebody spends $2,000 of their own money, 2 to 3 years later, this will fail, so they buy another one. And this is wrong. Furthermore, okay, you soldered on the SSDs. You gave us a port. Okay, the board fails, we could recover data with this port. Well, guess what? In the 2018 model year, you removed the port. You removed the customer's ability to get their data, their pictures, everything. Well, Take off the NAND chips, right? Take them off and recover them with a reader. Wrong. You included the T2 chip, which encrypts and ties the SSD to the T2 chip. That is wrong. Alright, well, we could still fix the board, right? We can still do that now. However, now you are using proprietary chips from Texas Instruments and Intersil that are furthermore locked down, that we cannot get, that we cannot repair the board with. There is nothing security compromising in a USB-C controller chip. There is no advantage to using this Texas Instruments CD3217 B12 chip over another chip from Texas Instruments that is freely available. There is zero advantages. Your chip has no advantages to that. There is no speed transfer differences. There is no reliability differences. There is no security differences. Stop lying to your consumer. This is not about security. You are creating a monopoly. You want to be the only place that can fix this device, which is wrong. If you were doing decent work, that would be fine. There are plenty of instances when I have seen rework boards from Apple with Apple stamps on them that have been reworked with corrosion on them with just awful work. This is not about quality. This is about preventing people from repairing your devices, which is wrong. So, let's go back to this. I want you to think about something. Apple users. You buy this machine. You have everything. You have your business documents, your text documents, your everything on this computer, okay? The board fails, okay? Let's point out a common design defects with these that happens. One, the T2 chips fail. The PMICs fail. The CPUs fail. What if that happens? So, we can't get new Intel chips. That's okay. We don't want to get new Intel chips. We do not want Intel chips. We do not want to replace CPUs. Not a big deal, okay? T2 chips fail. We also don't want to get those. We know we're never going to get T2 chips. That's an Apple-only part. We know we're never going to get those. But let's say the USB-C controller fails. Okay, this is common. If you spill liquid on your laptop, it's in a very common area that liquid gets. The liquid will come in through here, through the port, and it gets right on that chip. This proprietary chip that we cannot buy now. Okay? Great. Apple's the only one that can fix it. You go to the Apple store. Well, we have to replace your motherboard. That's going to be $984. That's fine. I just need my pictures back, right? Well, guess what? They're replacing your motherboard. And look what's right here. You have your solid-state drive, which is soldered onto the board. Okay? So if you go to Apple, they will replace your board with a refurbished one, most likely. There are some new ones. There are some refurbished. You will lose everything on your device. You will lose your pictures. You will lose your documents. You will lose everything. So, you would probably think, okay, well, let me try and find somebody else, like my own business, that can fix this. You know, you'll seek out independent repair options that do logic board repair, which is the right thing to do. And they tell you, we cannot fix your device because there is a proprietary chip that we cannot get. This proprietary chip in question, there's two of them on here. There's probably more, but the two of them that are most prone to failure are right here. This is the CD3217-A12, B12 or A12? B12. Okay, you know what I'm talking about here, Apple. Let me just put a little alcohol on this so you can see the numbers on this better. Okay, CD3217B12. This is a custom designed chip. This is not made by Apple. Let's get this straight. This is not made by Apple. This is a Texas Instruments part that you told them to make this for us and that you cannot sell it to anybody else. What is wrong with using, let's say, let me find this one chip. It's like a TPS, I don't know the exact number. TI USB-C controller and MUX. Let's find this here. What is wrong with using, let's say, something like a TPS 65983B? Okay? Does the same thing that this chip does. It has no advantage. It has no disadvantages over this, and yet it's readily available. So Apple, when you can't do board repair, when you cannot solve the customer's data, we could do it if we have the right chip, but we can't because you use a proprietary chip and you won't sell it to us. Okay, you will not sell this chip to us. You lock this chip down so we can't get it. Furthermore, you fight against the right to repair. You do not want independent repair providers to repair their device. You do not want the customer to repair their device. You do not care nor want to help somebody get their precious data back. How would you feel? I want to ask you something this. Every Apple engineer that sees this video, every Apple executive that sees this video, put yourself in the customer's location. You have no backups. You have everything, your life, on this device, and it fails. Okay? Your own technicians, your own engineers can't fix it because they don't know what the hell they're doing at the Genius Bar. We know this. They're not trained in advanced repair. They're part swappers. They swap parts based off of a flow chart with basic diagnostic skills. Okay? They can't fix it. They can't get your data back. What are you going to do? Well, one, you're an Apple engineer, so you probably have access to this chip. But put your foot in the customer's, in your client's place. How would you feel if they could not get precious memories? You could ruin somebody's life like this. If they have critical business documents or something on here, you can literally ruin somebody's life. Do you care? No. That's why we're going to step out. We're going to step up. The independent repair community is going to step up because this is wrong. We're going to educate as many consumers as we can of what you're doing, and we're going to fight back. This ends now. This is wrong. You are another thing that you are doing, Apple, that if we find out, this is most likely going to be illegal. There is plenty of genuine parts that come out of China. If you buy this machine and take out the screen, if you buy this machine from an Apple store, take off the screen and send it across the sea from China to the US, customs will seize this as counterfeit when it is not a counterfeit screen, because Apple, you're most likely telling them to. And if we find out, this is a crime. This is fraud. It is called fraud. When something is genuine and you seize it as counterfeit from something that is purchased legally, that is fraud, Apple. Okay? That is flat out fraud, and we know what you're doing. Okay? Time has stopped. That's enough of this. When we get genuine batteries, genuine screens that are pulls from other machines, okay, that somebody has volume discounts, they tear down for parts or something, and that gets seized, guess what? That's what's happening now. We cannot get new screens anymore for these machines, which means to the consumer, we cannot replace the screen for you anymore. Because one, we can't get the part. We cannot get a genuine part to fix your machine that is acquired legally because it is being seized by customs enforcement as being counterfeit when it is not counterfeit. Again, Apple does not make this display. LG makes this display. Okay? This is wrong, Apple. And we're going to educate your consumers. We're going to ensure that you make less money until you make these changes. There is no reason why manufacturers and independent repair companies cannot coexist. This is wrong what you're doing. You're hurting many, many people by this. We'll be forming a union comprised of many, many repair shops across the world, and we will be seeking to educate your consumers legally within the law. This organization will seek to reveal the truth, not false accusations. This organization will seek to reveal the truth about you and your company and your products. And we will win. It may take time. I am 19 years old. I started this company 2 to 3 years ago. I've been in this store for about 2.5 years. I am now one of the top technicians in the country performing logic board repairs at 19 years old. Imagine what I could do in 5 years, Apple, and we're coming for you. What you are doing is wrong. You have the chance to make a decision. We're going to educate your consumers. If you wish to come after me, go ahead. I'm sure every major media market in the country would love to see that you are suing a 19-year-old for fighting for what's right. What you're doing, Apple, is wrong, and this ends now. This ends today.